Hey everyone, what's going on? Today I'm going to walk you through how I took $200, give or take, and end up turning this into a truck that's worth roughly $7,000 when it's all done up. This is going to be a quick overview kind of a video. I'm going to make a more in-depth video after this explaining exactly what I did, exactly the processes I went through, and just kind of the tricks of the trade, I guess you could say, of a lot of what I've done. I have my computer up here next to me because I've gotten through quite a lot of projects to get me through this, to get me up to this point. But at the same time, this is not something that's incredibly difficult to do. As long as you, even if you're just a weekend warrior, don't have a bunch of time on your hands, or if you're younger in school, just have a minimum wage job kind of a thing, and you want to be able to afford a little bit of a nicer car, just anything, something like that. This is very, very simple to do, and I'm just going to go ahead and explain how I did what I did. So when I started out, I had a minimum wage job, of course. This was back, I think, in high school when I started. The first thing that I did was I was browsing through Craigslist, just kind of looking around, seeing what's up and available. And there was this mini bike that I saw that was in 100 different pieces, and the guy was not asking very much money for it. Said all the pieces were there. It ran before he took it apart. He was trying to fix some things on it. And so I went out and looked at this mini bike, ended up bringing it home looking a little bit kind of like this. I spent probably a month on this bike, only on weekends and occasionally on the work days after work. I took it completely down to the frame and repainted the frame. I put some extra lights on it. I just painted it up a little bit nicer. All the parts that I bought off of for it came off of eBay or just local, like the auto parts store for paint. And I did not put very much money into this. Even when I bought the new carburetor for it, I was only in, I spent $120 on the bike, and I spent $60 on all the parts and pieces and everything to get it back together, including paint. And once I got it all together, I ended up selling this bike for $600. I basically touched everything on this bike and made sure that it ran perfect, rode it around a little bit to make sure that it was working great, the brakes were great, fired up every time. That's kind of the way that I did a lot of this when I got started. It's very, very simple to buy small engine things like mini bikes, go-karts, even like push lawnmowers. As long as they have an engine that's not locked up, you can usually fix it in about 20-30 minutes. You'll know what's wrong with it if you spend a little bit of time. The best things to have are some starting fluid and some carb cleaner fluid, and you basically just need a basic set of socket wrenches and regular wrenches. You can get a case at Walmart for $15-20, a couple screwdrivers, and you're set. You can do this all day. A lot of small engines, the thing that's wrong with them is that there's not getting any fuel into the combustion chamber. 90% of them, I think, that I've worked on just don't have any fuel getting into them, so that's why they don't start. So when you go out and look at these things, make sure that they turn over and that they feel like they have good compression. So when you pull on the pull cord, it shouldn't just spin really free. It should give you a little bit of resistance, but it shouldn't be overly hard either. You can usually get these running in 20 minutes. Just clean out the carburetor, check the fuel hoses, and make sure the fuel is getting down where it's supposed to, and that 90% of the time will run after that. If this isn't your issue, check your spark plug. If that's not your issue, make sure that clean air is getting into it. If you check all three of these things, 99.9% of the time you will have a running engine. After I'd done small engine things like this for a while, I moved up to vehicles. My first one that I bought actually was the 95 Silverado that's been on my page, my turbo diesel, the 6.5, and was actually the reason I started making a bunch of YouTube videos, because I noticed that a lot of people didn't have tutorials on how to fix a lot of the things on the heavy duty trucks. So that's why I started my channel. And you can look back through some of my other videos if you haven't already to see just kind of glimpses and snaps of that truck here and there. I have a picture here up also. But this truck is where I started getting into all of the automotive stuff. So I took this truck and I made sure it was a good running, driving truck. And I brought it home, but of course it needed a lot of things. I had to go through the brakes. I leveled the suspension a little bit to make it sit a little bit higher. I put new lights all the way around. I put a new stereo in it. And all these parts I was buying extremely cheap, like secondhand or on eBay, except for the important things like the brakes. I bought those new at the auto parts store. When it comes to safety items, you should never cheap out. Even if you don't plan on keeping this vehicle for a long time, somebody else is going to have it, and you don't want something to happen to them because of something that you did to cut corners just to make a couple bucks. It's not worth that. So I put a lot of work into this truck, just kind of fixing all the small things that it had wrong with it. I turned around and sold that and bought a 97 F350 with the Power Stroke in it, the 7.3, that had a little bit of an electrical issue. It ran and it drove great, but a lot of the lights and the gauges and everything didn't work, which ended up being just a couple fuses and a loose wire, or a loose ground wire. And I did this with a lot of vehicles. I would go and I'd look at something that somebody thought was broken and unfixable, or they had no idea what was wrong with it, but it seemed to be a good running car. After you do a bunch of small engine things and get an understanding of how engines work, or if you're already there, you already know a good deal about how engines work, what they need to work, and why things might break, it's good to go look at cars like this. You can generally listen to it and drive it a little bit and look around it and kind of see how it's been taken care of, what kind of things it might need, the way that it sounds, the way that it might smell when it's running. All can be clues as to if you can take this home and fix it up where the previous owner was not able to find what was wrong with it. I've been doing this for a year and a half now, buying up things that just need a little bit of fixing but are fairly drivable. And I'm on my 9th car now. And this is something totally doable for a very wide variety of people. If you're not able to jump up and just immediately do cars right away, do small engine stuff. And the small engine stuff is where it's the easiest. They're very inexpensive to buy. When I was doing lawnmowers, I could pick up a lawnmower for $10, $20 that didn't run, put new gas in it, a new spark plug in it. It would cost you like $6 to do both of those. And then you can turn around and sell it for $50, $60, $80, $100, depending on what it is. And you can go buy 2 or 3 more and do the same thing. And you can see how it just kind of builds up on itself. This is also really great for everybody that wants to learn a little bit about how engines work, want to work with your hands. And the small engine stuff especially does not take up any room at all, and all you need is a basic socket set and a couple screwdrivers. So like I said, this is just a little bit of an overview of kind of what I did. I didn't want to make an incredibly long video for this one. In my next video, or maybe even video series, I will go into a little more detail to show every single project that I did, show exactly what was wrong with each one, what I had to change, the tactics that I used to sell everything. And I even have some pretty incredible stories on some of the stuff that I've bought just because of things that I found in it, previous owners, where I took it through, etc. So thanks you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you check out my more in-depth video once I make that. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave something in the comments or send me a YouTube message. I think you can do that now. Or just kind of let me know. I'd be happy to help you out. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.